In a quiet English village, two children climbed out of the ground. They did not speak any known language. Their skin was green. Their clothes were unfamiliar. One of them would not survive. The other would live long enough to tell a story no one could fully explain. This is how it began. Woolpit sat low and open, surrounded by fields worked so often that the earth itself seemed tired. The villagers knew the land well. They cut it, planted it, and dug into it without ceremony. On the eastern edge of the village lay the pits that gave Woolpit its name. Deep clay hollows, covered loosely with brush and grass, dangerous enough that children were warned away, but familiar enough that no one feared them. That morning was not marked as unusual. Men worked the fields while others tended sheep along the hedges. The air was mild. A few women passed baskets between cottages. No one gathered. No bells rang. Then, from the direction of the pits, voices rose in alarm. Two harvest workers had stopped digging. They stood still, tools hanging uselessly at their sides, staring down into one of the open pits. At first they thought animals had fallen in. Then the shapes moved. Small, upright, human. The children emerged slowly, as if light itself resisted them. A boy and a girl. Their clothes were rough but well made, cut in a style no one recognized. Their hair hung strangely, neither groomed nor wild. But it was their skin that held the men frozen. Green, not stained, not painted, green like young leaves before summer darkens them. The children cried out, voices sharp and frightened, speaking rapidly in a language no one in Woolpit had ever heard. The sound carried across the fields, drawing others closer. Farmers, shepherds, a woman with flour on her hands. They formed a loose circle, no one stepping too near. Some crossed themselves. Others whispered that the children were cursed, or not children at all. A man muttered that they must have come from underground, from a place better left sealed. The girl clutched the boy's arm. The boy trembled, eyes darting wildly. Someone offered them bread. They recoiled. Cheese followed. They pushed it away. Their crying grew louder, more desperate, until one of the workers remembered the beans still lying in a sack nearby. He poured them out onto the ground. The reaction was immediate. The children fell to their knees. They grabbed the beans with frantic hands, eating as though they had not eaten in days. The villagers exchanged uneasy looks. This did not calm anyone. Word traveled quickly. The children were led carefully into the village, still clutching the beans, still speaking in that strange, flowing tongue. Doors opened. Faces appeared at windows. Some followed at a distance, unwilling to be left out, unwilling to stand too close. No one knew what to do with them. No one knew where they belonged. The pits stood behind them now, quiet again, giving no sign that anything had come from below. By the time they reached the village center, a decision had been made. The children would be taken to the manor of Sir Richard de Calne. He had land, authority, and a house strong enough to contain whatever this was. As they were led away, the villagers noticed something else. The boy's grip on his sister was weakening. His steps slowed. His cries softened into something thinner. The ground had released them, and it would not take both of them back. Sir Richard de Calne's manor stood apart from the village, heavy with stone and order. Its walls had heard disputes, harvest tallies, and confessions murmured too quietly to carry. When the children were brought through its doors, servants paused mid-step, unsure whether to bow, flee, or stare. The children were given water first. They drank carefully, watching the cups as though expecting them to vanish. When offered meat, they turned away. Bread followed. They shook their heads, clinging to one another. Only when a bowl of cooked beans was placed between them did their tension ease. They ate slowly now, guarded, as if afraid the food might be taken back. Sir Richard observed from a distance. He ordered the servants to prepare a small room near the kitchens where warmth lingered even at night. Clean straw was laid, wool blankets were brought. The boy collapsed before sunset. His steps had shortened earlier, his breathing shallow, his skin colder to the touch. Now he lay curled, eyes half-lidded, murmuring words no one understood. The girl pressed her forehead to his shoulder, repeating the same phrase over and over. A local physician was summoned. He found no wounds, no fever, no poison. He recommended rest, warm food, and prayer. The boy did not improve. Over the next days, the manor adjusted around them. Servants learned to leave bowls of beans within reach. Sudden movements made the children flinch, raised voices sent them scrambling into corners. The girl memorized patterns while the boy drifted further inward. Attempts to speak to them went nowhere. Latin failed, French failed, English failed. They responded only to each other, speaking in bursts that rose and fell like rehearsed rhythm. On the fourth night, the boy stopped responding. There was no cry, no sudden movement. One moment he breathed, the next he did not. The physician confirmed it. A servant covered the body. The girl screamed, clutching at him, shaking him as if movement alone could undo what had happened. No one restrained her. She refused food for 2 days. On the third day, hunger won. She ate slowly, each movement deliberate. Her green skin remained, though slightly duller. The boy was buried quietly at the edge of the manor grounds. The girl was not brought to the burial. She was told nothing she could understand. From that day she was alone among strangers, carrying a language no one could hear properly and a place no one could name. Time passed differently for the girl. Days were marked not by bells or sunlight, but by routine. Bowls placed near her door, footsteps in the corridor, the hearth stirred each morning. Slowly, cautiously, she began to mirror the world around her. She learned words the way one learns terrain in the dark, by touch, repetition, and listening. Bread became bread, water became water, names followed later. Sir Richard, servant, manor, Woolpit. Her green hue faded over months. By the time she could form full sentences, the tint was nearly gone, replaced by a pale complexion. When she finally spoke clearly, it was by accident. A servant dropped a bowl. She cried out in English, sharp and instinctive. The room froze. Every eye turned. After that, questions began. She described a place without sun, always dim like endless twilight. A land where shadows were soft and directionless. She and her brother had come from the land of St. Martin. People there looked like them, ate what grew naturally, which explained their familiarity with beans. She explained a loud, overwhelming sound, like bells but stronger, had frightened them. They followed it, and then suddenly, everything changed. The light hurt their eyes. The sound stopped. And then they were in Woolpit. When asked about their parents, she said they had been left behind. She never saw them again. When questioned about God, she explained that her people believed in St. Martin above all, though she could not describe him as the church expected. Some were disturbed, others comforted. Rumors spread through Woolpit, children from underground, fairy realms, distant lands. She noticed the change in how people watched her, not as curiosity, but as a witness to something no one had seen. She adapted, learning customs, helping with chores, blending into manor life. Certain things never left her. She avoided bright midday light, lingered in shaded halls, and at dusk stood near windows, as if expecting something familiar to return. Sometimes, when asked about her brother, she stopped speaking entirely. The boy did not last. From the beginning, he had been weaker, quieter, eating less, sleeping longer. While she adjusted to manor life, he remained withdrawn. The healer tried everything: warm broths, herbs, rest, prayer. Nothing changed. Slowly, politely, he faded. One morning, he did not wake. The girl stood beside him, silent, observing. Afterward, she spoke less of the land of St. Martin. Her answers became shorter, less precise, as if the place itself was receding. She focused on learning, doing, and living among the people of Woolpit. Time passed. Seasons turned. Fields were worked and returned. Children grew. The girl became a young woman, learning village customs, laughing at jokes she once would not have understood. Eventually, she left Sir Richard's household. Records say she married, either from a nearby village or within Woolpit itself. Her name appears briefly in accounts, altered each time, then faded away. She lived. The story of the Green Children lingered, passed from mouth to mouth, written down decades later by chroniclers who had not seen them but spoken to those who had. Some treated it as fact, others as rumor. Details shifted. The pit moved, the color deepened or softened, the language became more alien. Yet certain elements never changed. 2 children, a pit, green skin, a world not quite like this one. Even centuries later, Woolpit remained tied to the story. Travelers asked about it, scholars debated it, maps marked the village. No artifacts survived, only accounts, layered atop one another, preserved fragments of the original moment. What happened that morning remains unresolved. Perhaps the children were from a distant land, malnourished, or emerged from abandoned tunnels. Perhaps something stranger occurred, resisting explanation. The people of Woolpit never reached an answer. They buried the boy, watched the girl grow, and returned to their fields, carrying the story quietly. The pit remained, filled in, forgotten, marked only by memory. Somewhere between history and rumor, the Green Children of Woolpit stayed exactly where they had always been, just out of reach.